It's time for the best coverage of the top stories in sports. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page starts now.
Indeed it does on this Wednesday, and great to have you with us all across America and Canada for the next 60 minutes. If you're listening to us on the podcast version of the show, we appreciate that too. Or watching us on YouTube or Spotify. So many ways to ingest this program. We're glad you've chosen to do so. A lot to get to over the next 60 minutes. As I said, we will talk some baseball a little later on, some Wednesday baseball notes, and one in particular about a player who's been missing this year, who we really miss seeing on the field. We will get into that some. The fragility of the individual sports star on display at Wimbledon, and there's another example I want to bring up as well of just how difficult it is to be alone on that island. We'll get into that some as well. Some NFL news and notes. The WNBA Commissioner's Cup is in the books, and we had a surprise winner of that on Tuesday night. We'll get to that as well, but we start things out in the NBA, and here he is, Kurt Helin of Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com, hanging out on the show in his Hawaiian shirt today. I like it. I said, it's like you're already ready for Summer League.
I look, when you get to see it with the matching shorts that it comes with, like you're going to. I'm ready for resorts. I look like I should be on a cruise or an all-inclusive resort somewhere.
Which Marriott property are you staying at here in Vegas?
I got the points now, man. That was a long finals. I read a lot of Marriott points.
All right, fair enough. Let's talk a bit about some of these stories that have broken in the last couple of days here at the start of NBA free agency. I want to know, now that it's we've had about 24 hours for it to settle in, your reaction on the Damian Lillard story with him being cut loose by the team after tearing his Achilles during the NBA playoffs, and then them basically deciding to cut him loose and eat the salary, which is, just stunning. How it impacts the Giannis Antetokounmpo situation. Now that it's had a moment to settle in, what are you thinking?
Well, first off, with the Bucks, it just strikes me as a desperation move. A desperation, we've got to keep you happy Giannis move, right? Like, that's a 113 million. Look, the largest wave and stretch we had seen in the league before that was 31 million.
Wow.
This is basically 112.6 if we're going to be technical, but 113 million. And it comes out to like 22.5 million a year over the course of that. That's like 15% of your cap in dead weight. All that to get Miles Turner, who, by the way, is a distinct upgrade over Lopez at this point in their careers. Like, this is a good get for them. And if the goal is to keep Giannis Antetokounmpo happy, bring him back and say, man, you can contend here. We've got Miles Turner. It is absolutely a step in that direction. Is it just me, Jason? Does it feel like they're still one guy away? Like, they're not. Yes. They need a guard. Like a guard like Lillard when he's healthy. They need a guard to round that thing out. But the goal has always been for them. Every time Giannis does the passive aggressive, I don't know, what am I going to do? They make it. That's how they ended up with Lillard in the first place. They make these aggressive moves. This is just another down that line. I think it works for them that sense, but short term, good for them. Long term, when the wheels come off that thing and they don't have any draft picks till 2020, 31, it's a mess. Also think it's good for Lillard. He has no pressure and he gets to pick his landing spot. And frankly, it's good for Turner because that was going to be kind of a gap year in Indiana. He gets paid the money he wants to get paid. The Pacers had lowballed him. He deserved, 25 is actually maybe even a little low for what he should get on the market. He's 25 a year. He's now in a good spot and he contends. He's on a team that's closer to contending than Indiana will be next.
Real quick, in free agency here, what else is left out there that makes sense for that guy that you think Milwaukee needs?
I don't know what that is. They might have to find a way to do it via trade because the guys left at the top of, I put together at NBC Sports, if you're looking for it, top 10 available players, which, by the way, Lillard on top of that. But if you go down, it's a lot of restricted guys, and then you're getting into the Cam Thomases of the world and just guys. There are guys left who can help a team if you need that setting, but I don't know that kind of guard still exists, and they're going to have to manufacture that with a trade or in some other fashion soon.
I want your thoughts now that we've had a few days to let it settle in as well on the Malik Beasley story, because initially the story comes out and the initial knee-jerk reaction is, oh, what did he do? Was he gambling on games? This and this. But it was really more the question around the speculation or the betting on the game and the fact that he was involved in it, but nothing really pointed to him. Then the story expands a little bit and you start to find out this guy's had all sorts of financial problems. As we broaden this thing out, as we get a larger panorama view of the life of Malik Beasley, does it start to trouble you? Does it start to trouble people in the league as they start to see a fuller picture of what was going on in Malik Beasley's life here?
It does, in this sense that's always, look, that's the vulnerable guy, and that's why officials have always been more worried about the college game, because even those guys are making an NIL, they're not, money will matter more to them. The theory was you couldn't get an NBA player who could truly influence the outcome of games because they make too much money. And Beasley, by the way, has a career earnings over $60 million. Like he shouldn't be in this problem, but because of the financial issues, suddenly he looks like the kind of guy who could be vulnerable to that. Like you said, there's no direct evidence yet to that.
That we know of. I mean, there could be information.
That we are aware of, and they're looking at funky games going back to when he was. This is mostly when he was with the Bucks a couple of seasons ago, but I think for the league, that becomes the cautionary tale that now you're. Look, all those rookies are getting together pretty soon for the rookie symposium stuff, and they're gonna be like, don't fall down this trap. Take care of your money, because you don't want to be the guy who's suddenly like, hey, I can make a few extra bucks here and save myself if I do X. Maybe that happened, maybe it didn't. Again, we don't have any proof, but it shows the vulnerability for the guys who do that.
It's like Marshawn Lynch said, man, save your chicken. You got to save your chicken.
Look, most of these guys, honestly, because it's not the rep of 20 years ago, most guys are pretty good about it. It's also a lot of money now. Yeah. But most of those guys are pretty good, the vast majority. But there's always somebody who can, especially if you're gambling on anything, it's a quick way to burn through cash, man.
And I keep saying it, man, for everybody that's going to want to say, see, the system's working, they're catching this stuff, and gambling experts and all of this stuff, they're all catching it. I keep saying, for every one they're catching, how many are still doing it? How many other guys are getting away with it? How many guys are doing it through proxies? I'm sorry, I refuse to believe that these are just lone wolves and there's just one-offs that this is happening with, Kurt.
Well, if you want to learn more, I've got a whole story coming out on my FanDuel sponsored podcast. I'll get you a promo code. You can, no.
You had me. You had me. You got me. You got me. We got Kurt for one more segment. Hang around. We're coming back. SportsWrap continues. Good to have you with us on this Wednesday edition of the show, continuing the conversation around the NBA, free agency, and the like. I'm sure we'll get into some coaching news because my Knicks still don't have a head coach. Kurt
Mike Brown's coming, baby. Save you.
I would almost rather it be Dawn Staley. And it's not going to be, but I would have almost rather it been Dawn Staley.
All I will say on that, and it's not going to be Dawn Staley this time. I've had multiple conversations with league executives who have said Dawn Staley is likely the first female coach in the league. You need somebody who can command a room. I mean, look, everybody at every level, every coach at every level has got to be able to walk in and command the room and lead it. And that's even a little more challenge. It's extra layers of challenging for a woman coming into the NBA. Dawn Staley can do that. And if you've ever watched her speak and been around her, you're with her for about 10 minutes. You're like, all right, where's the wall? I am ready to run through it. Let's go.
I don't know. I felt that way about Whoopi Goldberg as Eddie Franklin, but it's just
well, there's that.
That's just me. Let's talk about what the Clippers have done, because as much as we can talk about the Hawks, and they have had a great offseason so far. And in an Eastern Conference that is wide open. I would not be shocked if they were in the Eastern Conference Finals next year.
Are they the new Pacers? Yeah, that's on the table.
But with that said, what the Clippers have done here in getting Lopez, they have Zubac, they bring back Harden. All of a sudden, you look, a healthy Kawhi for 70 games next year. And all of a sudden, the Clippers look pretty damn viable in the West too.
I think we kind of forget they won 50 games last year. They were part of a three-way tie. They finished as the 5 seed, but it was part of a three-way tie with them, the Nuggets, and the Lakers at 50 wins. And they end up the 5 seed. They have to play the Nuggets on the road, and they end up losing that series. But that's a really good team, and Brook Lopez is, and Zubac's to Brook Lopez. You can play them together even because
you can.
Because Lopez can space the floor.
Yes.
Really smart coach with Ty Lue, like you said. It comes down to Kawhi Leonard and James Harden's health, and they re-signed Harden, by the way, on a really good. Yeah, he's getting $40 million a year. Now his deal lines up. In 2 years, all these deals go away. Like not Zubac's, he's got a little longer, but the other guys, like all their core guys, got away, and they can pivot. But for 2 years, they're going to be good. They're going to be good, and I don't know that they can come out of the West as a contender, but they're going to be good.
I like them. I think they're a dangerous team in a West that's just so much better than the East right now when you stack it up. I think they are a very dangerous team. You mentioned the Hawks, so why not talk about them here for a couple of minutes, Kurt, and what they've done, with Porzingis being brought in, and some of the other moves here, what they did in the draft. I mean, is there any downside to the Hawks right now that you could find?
No, if you need Porzingis to be healthy, so there's your rub. But what they lacked in shooting around Trae Young, they've really done a great job over the last couple of years stacking up. They get the rim protector, and by the way, we kind of forget Zachary Risacher figured it out about halfway through last season and became really good towards the end of the year. He makes another leap. They've got good young players around. Dyson Daniels was such a great find for them. Like, up and down that roster, they are doing... Look, I just like that team. I really like that team, and especially, like you said, in this East... Look, I'd like them in any East, but in this East, they're a legit top 4 kind of possibility. And then you're home for the first round, and maybe you advance to the second round for a team that the last few years were like, man, maybe they can make the play-in. Like, this is a huge leap for them, and it's good to see because it's a fan base that deserves it.
What do you do if you're the Cavaliers? I mean, I'd like to see them put their stamp now. When you look at, all the trouble for some of these teams in the East and the fact that it's so wide open, we know about the regular season they had and the postseason disappointment, but I'd like to see the Cavaliers do something that sort of puts their stamp on the conference, and I haven't really seen that yet.
No, but I will tell you, they're going to miss losing Ty Jerome.
I thought the same thing yesterday when I saw that move.
Yeah, they will miss losing him, but look, this is a 64-win team bringing back its core guys, and Evan Mobley should be a little bit better, frankly. Like, this is a team that feels like they're there, and if, they lost the Pacers in the second round, but they're kind of like, if Garland wasn't playing through turf toe and basically dragging his leg around, things could have been different. They feel like they just need a better version of themselves next year, and that, by the way, very well might be true. We'll see. In this East, preseason, when I do preseason rankings, they will be the number one. Figure they'll be the number 1 seed, and they and the Knicks got to be the favorites to come out.
The Knicks scoring off the bench last year was a big issue.
Yeah.
How much have they addressed that with Jordan Clarkson?
See, that's a great thing about Jordan Clarkson. Jordan Clarkson is a one-trick pony, but it's a really good trick. It is a great trick, and that he solves that problem. And you just put him out there for 15 minutes a night with the ultimate green light, and he's going to get you buckets. He's not going to play defense. You're going to get to the playoffs. You're going to have to hide him. Like, there's limits to what he can do. But over the course of 82 for them, that's a huge boost. Just having somebody who can come in, sit Brunson a little longer, and that guy's just going to light it up for you and play. And by the way, it's kind of become, nobody's really seen it because nobody's really watched Utah the last few years except us junkies. He's become a little bit better of a rounded player too. He's just not a stone cold gunner. So I think it's going to be a great fit.
All right, is it really going to be Mike Brown? Did they really fire Tom Thibodeau to hire a recycle in Mike Brown to come and coach this team, and why? Don't tell me it's to appease Jalen Brunson or Carl. I mean, come on. Like, give me something here.
I wish I had a good answer for you. He clearly seems to be the front runner. I mean, it's hard. It's a little bit of an inscrutable organization, but he's the guy who's gotten the second interview. He interviews well. and he can coach. Like for everything else, like he is a rock solid NBA coach. He has taken the Cavaliers to the finals. He helped the
with LeBron. Everybody's gone to the finals with LeBron.
But he also helped his last stop. He got let go in Sacramento, which is not everybody looks at well, he got fired in Sacramento. Okay, look at Sacramento. He helped get them to the playoffs for the first time in 16 years, and was. Like De'Aaron Fox was not happy when they fired him, and then not happy that it sort of got pinned on him when it wasn't on him, and he's suddenly out the door. He is a good coach. Is he an upgrade over Thibodeau?
No.
Not really.
Now, but again, if you assume that if as an organization you decided you weren't going to win a championship with Thibodeau, you had to let him go, which I don't have a problem with. But you have to bring in somebody that's going to inspire me, and that's not Mike Brown.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, you'll thoroughly enjoy the Mike Brown interviews. Nobody speaks with more clauses and winding sentences that don't end up where you think they're going to end up than Mike Brown.
Dinner on me when you get out here to Vegas for Summer League, my friend.
I look forward to it, sir.
We're going
to wear these shirts and just blind people.
Yeah,
it'll be great.
It'll be great. We're coming back. Welcome back to this Wednesday edition of Sports Wrap. Coming up in 10 minutes, the fragility of the championship athlete, the individual sports star. Fully on display, 2 examples to give you coming up in a few minutes. Just something that it just boggles the mind sometimes. We'll get to it coming up. Sam Yarnell, it's a Wednesday. It's a day ending in Y. It's never a bad time to talk some baseball, so let's do it. I was thinking about it last night, seeing the latest news on Yordan Alvarez. Man, we talk about some of the best players in sports that are bitten by injuries. And I'm not saying he's missed like Mike Trout tons of time, or even that he's a Mike Trout level player. But you're talking about a guy in Yordan Alvarez, top 10 in MVP voting twice in the last 3 years, 1 Rookie of the Year. And I mean, you're talking about a career 295 hitter in a day and age where guys don't hit career 295, hits for power, run production, doesn't strike out 200 times a year. And the Astros, amazingly, and to their credit, still figure out ways to win without the guy, despite the litany of injuries. I think he missed last year about 60-something. 23, he missed like 60-something games, or he missed about 60 games. Last year, he didn't miss that much time. Missed a little bit in 22, missed all of 20. And this year, he's been saddled with this wrist injury that they just can't seem to figure out, or this hand injury, whatever it is, that they just can't seem to figure out. And you're talking about one of the really special, talented players in this game, especially from an offensive standpoint, that we just keep missing out on. For all the great stories there are in baseball, he's a guy you really miss.
You're talking about a top 5 hitter in baseball, unquestionably, when he's healthy. I mean, you put him right up there with Ohtani and Judge. And from the left side of the plate, it's probably only Ohtani that's better than him right now in baseball, again, when healthy. Kind of a weird situation that's developed over the course of the last, 4 months at this point. But, you said it. This is a guy who has been a workhorse for them. He has played over 100 games in every season that there has been over 100 games that he has been eligible to play in, except for this one. The COVID year, obviously, where you had the back-to-back COVID cases, missed the whole season except for 2 games in the middle. Just kind of a weird write-off there, right? So a guy who's got historically a lot of long baseball in him, right? He'll miss 15 games here and there, and they'll take time to ramp him up, usually in May, as the Astros want to do with a lot of their older guys. They do the same thing with Altuve over the course of his career. But this is weird, because when it first happened, it was like, oh yeah, he's going on the 15-day IL. You kind of thought, when I remember saying on this very show, when the injury first happened, this is what happens every year with Yordan Alvarez. They shut him down for 15 games because he hits 200 for a week in the middle of May. Except he never came back from it, and we're in July now. And now he's seeing specialists, and they're shutting him down for even longer. So I'm concerned for the Yordan Alvarez piece in that it's fun to watch him play baseball for all the reasons I stated at the beginning. Again, top 5 hitter in baseball. Like Jason said, you don't see guys hit 340 homers a year in, year out, anywhere in baseball anymore. Yordan Alvarez is the exception to that. I think from an Astros perspective, I'd like to be worried, but it's amazing that I'm not. The division is still not playing up to snuff. This is a team that is, like Jason said, found other ways to win. Hey, Hunter Brown, turns out you're a top 5 pitcher in the American League. Came across you out of nowhere. So the Astros are really good at this in terms of a baseball operations standpoint and turning over players and making up for lost weight. But I am worried about the outlook for Yordan Alvarez personally.
Yeah. Speaking of that division, by the way, Angels just kind of keep hanging around. 500 team, just sort of, plodding along on a night where there wasn't a lot of baseball. They sort of stuck out to me, and I've been watching them a little bit more lately because we get them out here in Las Vegas. They're considered a local team, even though Los Angeles is 4 hours away. Somehow that's a local team for us. And Joe Adell's having a nice year. The batting average isn't all that high, and you pointed out, you might have said a few weeks back, and I kind of poo-pooed it, but now all of a sudden you turn around and Joe Adell is really becoming a producer for that team.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people in the fantasy community saw it a few weeks ago, and it's kind of the other side of this now. It's the time to sell out on your Joe Adell stock, and I think that's the reason why I'm not convinced on the Angels, Jason, is because, yes, they are playing 500 baseball, but what has it taken for them to play 500 baseball? Joe Adell's playing out of his mind, like he's playing like the number 1 overall prospect he was wrongly rated at 8 years ago.
They're still not getting anything out of Trout, though.
Sure, but Taylor Ward is also never going to hit 280 in a season, right? And you're never going to get Kevin Newman coming up with the clutch home run that he came up with like a week ago to give them a win, right? They just, everything is going right for this team. And Yusei Kikuchi, Yusei Kikuchi's still a major leaguer? Yeah, don't look now, he's got a 2-something ERA.
Right there for the wild card. They're right there for the wild card. And unlike the Mariners, here's the thing. Unlike teams like the Mariners who are in the hunt for that wild card, unlike some other teams that may not go and make moves, they will make moves. I have said this before. Whether they're good moves or not is subject to debate, but they will make moves.
I will take the Mariners over the Angels 6 ways to Sunday. And then
listen, on paper, I would too. Listen, on paper, I would too, but we've also seen the Mariners collapse at times. So,
but just this year, just like I said, everything's gone right for the Angels. The Mariners have the best pitching staff in Major League Baseball, and it hasn't been healthy once yet.
And they're still only 44 and 41. I mean, look, the Angels, there is a little smoke and mirrors there. They're minus 45 on the run differential, too. I'll throw that in there. One last note. Congratulations, Bob Melvin. Gets himself a contract extension with the Giants. And, San Francisco still obviously very much in the mix as far as the National League wild card is concerned. We know the move they made for Devers.
Yeah, if you heard any contract news about a manager yesterday, it was going to be good news. July 1st is the deadline for clubs to exercise managerial options, which is what the Giants did with Bob Melvin. There are still plenty of managers who have options for next year who are on the hot seat. The club also has the option to push back their option until it's either August or September 1st. I'm not sure which. So regardless, yes, great job by the Giants. They are making great baseball moves. Credit Buster Posey. There are a lot of managers that are going to be on the hot seat at the end of this year, though.
Yep, absolutely. Hopefully one of them's in New York and his name's Aaron Boone. God. Save me. Save me from Aaron Boone. I wish the Yankees would suck so they'd fire him. I was hoping the same thing on Thibodeau, and they did, and he didn't suck. We're coming WNBA next. All right, we keep things moving on this Wednesday edition of the show. Coming up in 10 minutes, some notes from the NFL. A notable unretiring. We'll tell you who it is. And we'll also have some thoughts on the Cleveland Browns. And this continued, I don't want to call it an epidemic, but publicly funded stadiums, government funded stadiums for billionaire owners. I mean, go look at the valuations on NFL franchises and then tell me how, taxpayers and the state of Ohio is on the hook for $600 million or whatever it is on this deal for the Cleveland Browns' new enclosed stadium, which is another issue all to itself. The fact that you've got these enclosed stadiums that are going to be everywhere in football, and the elements just aren't going to matter anymore, which is part of football. The elements, playing in the elements. And in a place like Cleveland, you get elements in the fall and winter, and we're not going to be getting those anymore. Anyway, we'll get into that coming up in about 10 minutes. But I want to talk about the fragility of the individual sports athlete. Something we see now, really more than we've ever seen it before. When you watch events like Wimbledon or any of the golf majors or just golf tournaments in general, we're often reminded of just how difficult and how on an island athletes in sports like golf and tennis are. And I was reminded of this yesterday watching Wimbledon. I've been reminded of it watching Wimbledon. It's on here in the studio right now to my left. You're reminded of it every time you watch one of these top seeds fall early on. I mean, there's been so many upsets in the opening round of Wimbledon. And as you watch these upsets taking place, and you see, some of the best tennis players in the world being sent home, not just in the opening week, but in the opening few days of this Grand Slam. And Coco Gauff, who you're looking at on the screen, is the latest to have this fate as she loses to an unseeded teenager yesterday. And undoubtedly a great effort from Yastremska in this match, this Ukrainian who beats Coco Gauff. But Coco Gauff just a few weeks ago was marching through the French Open at Roland Garros. She beats Aryna Sabalenka for her second career slam. And then just a few weeks later, she's out in the opening round. And I get that these people have teams and they have coaches and their families and their mental coaches now, because it's at a whole new level when it comes to the entourages that these individual sport athletes bring around with them and carry with them. But during an NBA game, if somebody's struggling with their shot, they're going to the sideline immediately and they're getting reinforcement from a coach, a fellow player, a trainer, an assistant, somebody. In a sport like tennis, when it's going bad, the way it went bad yesterday for Coco Gauff, losing in straight sets in this match, when it's going that way, you've got nowhere to go. You've got nowhere to turn. You've got to figure it out yourself most of the time. And yes, I know there's coaches in the boxes and they're yelling stuff down, but there's really very little ultimately that can be done when some of the world's very best are going through these moments. And sometimes they can pull themselves up and get out of them. Taylor Fritz, in his match a couple of days ago, I think it finished up yesterday. And another example of this is Rory McIlroy, who we just watched win the Masters a couple of months ago to complete the career Grand Slam. And who will forget this moment of him finally being able to get the monkey off his back, the weight lifted off his shoulders as he wins his first, as he wraps up the career Grand Slam and finishes that achievement, that lifetime achievement, with so much golf left to go in his career. And a lot of people did speculate what would become of Rory McIlroy after that, because yes, you have that huge weight lifted off, but that thing that's been pushing you is no longer there to push you. So now what pushes you? In golf, much like tennis, you're just out there alone. Yeah, again, you have a caddy. But a lot of caddies, not all, are reinforcement of what you're already saying or thinking as a golfer, as opposed to somebody who's out there coaching you in the moment or trying to take you out of it if the swing starts to go awry. You look at Rory McIlroy here over the last several weeks since winning the career Grand Slam and winning the Masters, and it's kind of gone sideways. And forget what the results might say. Oh, he was, T7 at the Truist. All right, that's great. PGA Championship, T47, not in contention. Missed the cut at the RBC. He was +9. U.S. Open, shot himself out of the tournament in the first 2 days. Had a great final round to salvage it, but he was +7. T19. And then at the Travelers Championship, played well late, but not good enough. T6, but he had the issues with the driver being confiscated at the PGA Championship. He had the issue where he's not talking to the media again and sort of lashing out against them. And again, just reminds you that for as great as some of these athletes are, and I think sometimes we have to be reminded of this when we're talking about the sport in the context of gambling and who wins you money and your fantasy team. These guys aren't robots. These women in the WNBA and other female sports, individual sports like we're seeing with Coco, Gauff, they're not robots. There is this inevitable struggle that takes place for every individual athlete at some point. The great ones can pull themselves out of it more often than not. We're coming back. Let's take it to segment 5 on this edition of Sports Wrap. Talk some football. A couple of headlines that caught my attention in the last 24 hours. One of them is not as surprising to me as it might be to some people, Sam Yarnell. And that is the news of Darren Waller unretiring and deciding he's going to go play football in Miami. Now, maybe playing for Miami is, but then again, maybe it isn't because they just traded away Jonnu Smith. But I could see you're chomping at the bit to talk about Darren Waller, unretiring. He's Kelsey Plum's beau, right? I think. Something like that. I think that is.
Not anymore. That's a sore subject. Not anymore.
Sorry. I thought they were. I didn't realize they weren't together anymore.
I believe they had a
split.
Quite public, quite unhealthy split. But I may be mistaken. Let me do some quick research.
No. You might be right. Don't. I want to hear your point on Darren Waller and why you had a furrowed eyebrow. When it came to Waller unretiring and going to play for the Dolphins.
Yeah, so they got divorced about 8 months ago.
There you go.
In the midst of Darren Waller announcing
how's your children doing? Well, one of them's in rehab. I guess we better update our records. Go ahead.
Jason, do you remember what I said yesterday on this very program about the Miami Dolphins? What did it feel like they were doing?
Our friend Nathan was very entertained. Our friend Nathan in New Orleans, who watched the show for the first time yesterday, tweeted to say he was very entertained. So apparently he liked that. Go ahead.
Shout out to Nathan because he saw the vision. The Steelers and the Dolphins right now, they're playing the NFL on Madden mode. Like, it makes no sense the moves that they're doing. It's like the Dolphins woke up the day after they traded the focal point of their offense from last year, their single best offensive player from last year. They woke up the next morning and they were like, wait, what did we do?
Better than Tyreek Hill?
We're going to have to go. Yes, last year he was. We're going to have to go find someone to replace this guy. And they landed on Darren Waller coming out of retirement and having to get his rights from the Giants. I mean, it's just so quintessentially Dolphins. And if you don't see that vision, you're either a Dolphins fan or you don't understand the NFL, because it was like the most Dolphins possible thing to happen, to go get a tight end who hasn't been relevant in 3 years, who literally set historic levels of tight ends being bad last season that forced him off the field into retirement. And that's who the Dolphins are like, you know what? We lost our leading receiver from last year. We're going to go get that guy. That's going to be our replacement for him. Chris Greer cannot live to see himself in his job next offseason. Wow. His job cannot be secure through this entire season the way that this roster is currently constructed. I seldom say this. I confidently think that I could run the Miami Dolphins football operations better than Chris Greer currently is.
Some might say low risk, high reward, potentially. Some might
say.
I
think they gave up a conditional pick for him.
It's conditional. Yeah, we don't know.
He was retired.
I get it. He's also going to have a better quarterback throwing to him than he had in New York with the Giants. So take that as it may be. Just I'm trying to give you the glass half full if you're a Dolphins fan on this, because there's not a lot of half full right now to go around. When it comes to the Miami Dolphins.
Jason's trying to sell you a glass half full when that glass has like 3 drops in it.
And it's yellow, and I'm telling you it's water. But yeah, it's not good. I know. I'm peeing on your leg and telling you it's raining. All right, let's talk about the Browns, who looks like they're going to get a new stadium. This has been, a somewhat contentious situation. You got Ohio Governor Mike DeWine signing a 2-year, $60 billion with a B budget that sets aside $600 million in unclaimed funds for this new stadium for the Browns, because Jimmy Haslam doesn't have enough money. The stadium stuff drives me nuts, man. When teams, and look, what were they going to do in Cleveland? They've already lost a team once because they played in a dilapidated, falling apart stadium. What were they really going to do? Were they really going to blink? Of course they were. They weren't going to sit there and hold Jimmy Haslam's feet to the fire.
You're exactly right. Gonna stand on my political soapbox here for a second.
Go for it. I want to see this.
Plug your ears or cut this out of the show.
No, I'm gonna watch this.
We need serious stadium reform in the United States of America. It's become ridiculous, the amount of public money that goes into all of these stadiums that are used by private entities. I think it originates in a good place in the pre-unionized sports days where public ownership of stadiums helped levy ticket prices. We've reached a place in sports, a juncture where sports are no longer made to be affordable. And that's fine. That's a simple fact of sport. It's not the common man's deal to go to a football game or a baseball game or any sporting or a basketball game or a hockey game, right? But the whole idea of this public funding to mitigate ticket pricing is clearly out the window. So why are we still publicly funding these stadiums when the mitigation of ticket pricing is beyond out the window? It doesn't make sense to me. It's quite nonsensical when you've got billionaire owners getting hundreds of millions of dollars, as you're seeing here, to build a stadium that they could easily afford to themselves.
Tax breaks. I mean, you name it. The owners get it so good in so many of these situations. And what does Cleveland have to show for the Haslams? Meh. I mean, all you gotta do is go and do a Google search. It's not very good. We're coming back. Odds and Ends wraps it up next. Welcome back to this Wednesday edition of Sports Wrap. Just about time to put the wraps on this baby for this Wednesday. Tomorrow, should have David Aardsma here, talking baseball. Former big league reliever, our closer. And then we'll be off on Friday for the 4th of July holiday weekend. Special edition of Sports Wrap on that day. Something very cool to tell you. Very excited to announce we are now... you'll now be able to watch the weekend edition of Sports Wrap in Los Angeles. KXPN, Ion Television in Los Angeles. Check your local listings. Will be on Sunday mornings. You have to get up early, but you can always DVR it. Available now, Ion Television carrying Sports Wrap in Los Angeles on Sunday mornings, in addition to our new affiliate also in Tampa carrying Sports Wrap. Ion Television in Tampa carrying the show. Hopefully you all get to watch us down there in Tampa. We just launched there on Tuesday. Happy to be on in the great state of Florida with our friends in Tampa watching down there. Say hello. Send us a note. Let us know you're watching, and if you got anything you want to shoot our way, feel free to do so. Sports Wrap with Jason Page, the podcast, available on all your favorite podcasting platforms. If you have not subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? You can listen to the show while you're driving to work, in the shower, on the train, on a plane, wherever you may be going. Listen to Sports Wrap. You can subscribe. It's free and easy to do. Also, if you enjoy watching the show and maybe you got to go on vacation somewhere, or you're somewhere where you're not accessible with a television, you can watch the show on your favorite mobile streaming device through YouTube, the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. If you have not subscribed yet, go and do it. It is the show Monday through Friday, commercial free, available on your favorite YouTube streaming able device. Go and check out the show there as well. All right, without any further delay, ladies and gentlemen, time for some odds and ends. Odds and ends. Hey, how about the Indiana Fever? No Caitlin Clark? No problem. They take down the Commissioner's Cup. I think to the surprise of many, they go into Minnesota, beat a great Minnesota Lynx team, 74-59, despite the fact they didn't have Caitlin Clark playing in this game, who's still nursing a left groin injury. 4 starters finishing in double figures in the game. They get 13 off the bench from Sophie Cunningham, who just needs to stop talking to the media. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go and look it up. She basically said, "Who wants to play in Cleveland and Detroit?" as the WNBA is adding franchises by 2030 in Cleveland and Detroit. By the way, a Detroit Shock team that actually won championships as well. Anyway, Indiana Fever, your Commissioner's Cup champions. Very cool. Very scary moment, though, when it comes to that game the other night. I don't know how many people saw it, but Red Panda was injured. We have a Red Panda story on the show today. There is Red Panda on your screen. If you've ever been to any live sporting event, or if you even watch SportsCenter sometimes, they will showcase the talents of Red Panda, who rides a unicycle and flips bowls onto her head that balance, and somehow she never drops the bowls, and somehow she never falls down off that damn unicycle. Well, she fell, and she was about 8 feet off the ground when she fell. It doesn't look too serious. Easy for me to say. I wasn't the one falling on my behind from 8 feet up with a bunch of bowls crashing around me in front of probably, 17,000 people at a basketball game. But Red Panda's going to be okay. She was taken off the court on a wheelchair. Our best wishes going out to Red Panda, who is always fun. If you've ever been to any type of live sporting event of any kind, and you get a chance to see Red Panda, it is always a great treat. Get better, Red Panda. Odds and ends. We thought it was the end for watching NHL players at the Olympics. Well, not so fast, Lee Harvey. The NHL, in its new collective bargaining agreement, has worked it out so that players are going to be able to participate in the Olympic Games coming up in 2026 and then again in 2030. This is great news, obviously, for the world of hockey, and it was really a no-brainer for the sport. You've got so much momentum after what took place with Four Nations, which, by the way, did higher ratings than the Stanley Cup Final. Stop for a second. Let that sink in. The NHL's exhibition Four Nations event, which basically took the place of the All-Star Game, did a better rating than the NHL's Stanley Cup Finals. So we know what international play means to the sport of hockey. I mean, it's a sport essentially born on, do you believe in miracles? The United States beating the Russians, Al Michaels on the call in Lake Placid. I mean, it's a sport that in so many people's consciousness is born from international play and what that means. So it was a no-brainer for the NHL to get on the same page with its players and say, all right, we're going to let you play. Are there risks involved? Of course there are. But I think the gains outweigh the risks when you consider getting your very best players playing for their natural national or international teams and countries that they're associated with. I think it's a no-brainer for the NHL, and I, for one, am glad to see that it's happening. So, international play, the Olympics, we will see NHL players once again. All right, that's going to wrap it up for us today. One more show tomorrow, and then special programming on Friday. Thank you to Kurt Helin of Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com. Thanks to Sam Yarnell. Thanks to you for watching. I'm Jason Page. Whatever you're doing today, enjoy it. We'll see you tomorrow.